Coinbase just launched Bitcoin-backed mortgages. Fannie Mae is on the other side. This is the Bitcoin Weekly by Blockrise. Here's what actually matters. Bitcoin is at 58,000 euro, down about 5% from 7 days ago. We have seen volatility with a range of nearly 9% in a single week. The Bitcoin price is currently below the 50-day moving average for the first time since late last year. And the 200-day moving average is still at 78,000 euro, so we are below the longer-term trend. Now the biggest story of this week. Coinbase and Better, a US mortgage lender, launched a product that lets borrowers use Bitcoin as down payment collateral for a residential mortgage, without selling the Bitcoin and without triggering a taxable event. Fannie Mae, the US government-backed institution that guarantees a large share of the American home lending, is backing this product. The mechanism is what really matters. The borrowers lock Bitcoin as collateral and the lender issues the mortgage. The borrower maintains their Bitcoin position and pays for the loan from their income. If Bitcoin falls sharply below the loan-to-value ratio, there will be a margin call, which is a risk worth naming. My view is that the product architecture looks correct, and Fannie Mae's involvement is the part that changed the conversation. This is no longer an experiment. It is a US financial infrastructure treating Bitcoin as real collateral for the largest financial transaction people usually make. I cannot wait to see these products appear in the European market as well. Moving on to the money flows. It has been a volatile week on multiple fronts. Mara, one of the largest US Bitcoin mining companies, sold 15,000 Bitcoin, worth about $1.1 billion, to retire its convertible debt. That is roughly a quarter of Mara's treasury offloaded in a single transaction. And of course, it added real supply to the market. And then during the midweek, $443 million in leveraged long positions were liquidated as geopolitical tension pushed risk assets even further. Bitcoin dropped below $66,000 in that session, and ETF outflows followed. And then one more story worth covering this week. Square, Jack Dorsey's payment company, announced it is automatically enabling Bitcoin payments at all of its point-of-sale machines, rolled out over the next few weeks, settled in dollars by default. This means no integration or no opt-in required, but enabled by default. The merchant receives dollars, the customer pays in Bitcoin, and Square handles the conversion. In payment infrastructure, the default setting is everything. Most merchants will never change a default setting. That means Bitcoin payments are now live for millions of businesses, not because those businesses chose Bitcoin, but because they chose Square. The infrastructure is running quietly underneath, and that is what real adoption looks like. Then, two things on my radar for next week. First, whether Bitcoin can reclaim its 50-day moving average at 59,000 euros. The last 3 times it tested that level and held, a meaningful move higher followed. But this time it broke down, so getting back above it matters for short-term direction. And second, I'm looking to see if any European company responds to the Coinbase mortgage announcement. The US has always moved first, but MiCAR gives European platforms the regulatory framework to build a similar product. The gap between regulatory readiness and product availability will not stay open indefinitely. At Blockrise, we will be more than happy to have this conversation. Remember, this is not financial advice, it is just my perspective on what is happening. Always do your own research. See you next time and make sure to verify your Bitcoin.